Hello and welcome to Engine Adventures off-road review of this 2021 GMC Canyon AT4. I've been pretty impressed with its off-road capability actually, despite this really low front air dam. It does have those really aggressive Goodyear Wrangler Duratracks and an okay amount of articulation. I was actually quite surprised with how well it can climb this hill in four-wheel drive high. It does have the G80 rear locker, so of course parking brake's on right now, but once you get a wheel like this in the air, get enough spin between the two, it'll lock up and make your way up the hill. You can see how well it's stuffed in right there. So let's go ahead and get into it. This hill here, I'm going to try it again right now on film and see what it does. The last attempt I just did, the transmission took a really long time to shift, lost all my momentum. So we're in 4 low. I made it up higher in 4 high than I did in 4 low. So let's try it again. I'll start further back, give it a little bit of momentum. And we're in 2nd gear. That definitely is doing better. Still kind of lost it. So, and I'll start right on the hill this time. That 1 to 2 shift is quite delayed in 4 low. We'll try it again in 4 high after this. Okay, here we go. It's just starting from here, and I'm gonna floor it. And full throttle. It definitely does a little better under full throttle than half throttle. Okay, let's go to 4 high and see if we can actually make it up further. There we are, 4-wheel drive high. And we'll just lock it in 1st gear. Well, whatever, we'll let it go to 2nd. Full throttle, I don't think it will shift into 2nd. And definitely made it further. If I didn't let off, might have made it all the way up. So 4 high, interestingly enough, was doing better on this hill than 4 low. I was surprised to find in this thing how little wheel travel there is. So I know this is not a ZR2 type of vehicle. It's not that level of capability, but how quickly this suspension was bottoming out at 16 miles an hour was a little bit of a surprise to me. So we'll go back, we'll try it doing the normal thing and just make sure that my initial impressions were correct. So here we go, high-speed off-road. We're in 4-wheel drive, all the traction control crap's off, and 16 miles an hour, 18 miles an hour, and I'm getting nervous. Yeah, I can handle about 16 there. The suspension didn't bottom out at all on that. Let's get to these bigger bumps. We're at 20 now. And yeah, we're doing all right. So it's definitely doing better than my initial impressions. Driving this, I must have just hit a perfectly spaced bumps or something for this, because at 20 miles an hour, it's doing okay. Definitely, that's kind of the limit, 20 miles an hour. Going faster than that, not a very good option. So I put this kind of in the middle upper end of things. 20 is the goal. A lot of vehicles can't hit the goal. This one definitely does. It's not as capable as a ZR2, Toyota TRD Pro, any of them. But it's definitely a lot better than even the full-size AT4s, like the half-ton and the Ram Rebel and all those kinds of trucks. Here we are in 2-wheel drive, just how you'd be driving down the road every day. This does have the G80 rear locker, and right there's where it locked up. It does release and then relock again right there. Next up, we turn off the traction control and take not quite as good of a line, so it just pivots, but I do want to take a second and talk about how to keep the G80 locked. So once it does lock up, if you keep pressure on the throttle, keep it driving forward at a fairly consistent speed, it will stay locked. As soon as you let off or brake, it will disengage, and as you see in the testing here, it engages, disengages. When the other wheel lifts, it engages again. If I had kept on the throttle that whole time, then it wouldn't have disengaged and wouldn't have had to re-engage. Chevy does use a limited slip braking system to transfer power side to side, but with the G80 here, you hardly notice that the pinion control is actually working. GMC has equipped the Canyon AT4 with a Magna transfer case that has clutches in it. So in four-wheel drive auto, it can engage those clutches as it detects wheel slip to transfer power from the rear wheels to the front wheels. You can see here that the G80 locks up pretty quick and helps get up this first part of the hill even though it's in four-wheel drive auto. It does disengage here, you don't really notice it, but the wheels slip just a little bit and it makes the climb pretty easy. Again, even though it's in four-wheel drive, the truck does rely on the G80 to make it up the hill. Four-wheel drive high and four-wheel drive auto perform really similarly. In four-wheel drive auto, the system responds very quickly and locks up the transfer case, so you don't really notice much difference between the two. Here's a good example of the G80 not locking up and the four-wheel drive system and pinion control making the climb initially. In four-wheel drive low, the traction control and stability control are automatically turned off. It does have pinion control, but you can see it's just not quite enough to make it up, and as soon as the G80 locks, it's able to make it with ease. Chevy has some weird programming when you're in four-wheel drive low where you let off the throttle and it keeps accelerating at the same speed for a few seconds before it reduces back down to normal again. Not sure why it does this. It did the same thing in the half tons. A little bit weird, but just something you need to be aware of. We are in two-wheel drive. Don't expect this to go anywhere. Interesting. That's it. Okay. Four-wheel drive auto. There we go. And I'm full throttle right now. There it goes. Cool. So this truck easily does this in four-wheel drive auto. I'm just gonna climb to the top because I don't want to slide. So four-wheel drive auto, that was no problem. descent control in 4 high. This might be a mistake. There it goes. That seems to be working quite well. This is 4-wheel drive auto, not 4-wheel drive high. So the downhill assist seems to make some complete stops. It goes and stops and goes and stops. Kind of interesting. But overall, I think it worked quite well. That grinding sound that you hear is just the ABS pump running and braking the wheels that need to be braked. Alright, so this one's 4 high with traction control off and stability control off. This thing's ridiculous. I wonder how much articulation there is. We'll have to get an articulation picture here in a second. All right, so what I'm noticing immediately is with the traction control off, there's still the pinion control. You can see the traction control light flash there, but there's so much more control. I never put the pedal all the way on the floor. I can easily just add a little bit more throttle and it goes right up. So 4 high, should have just gone around the other way. Let's do that. Anyway, with the traction control off, it is a much more controlled, easy drive. So if you are off-roading, I recommend just flipping those systems off. Let me know if you guys prefer this editing style where I show the inside and then I show the outside, and I do most of my commentary inside, so I don't really need to do much voiceover outside. Here we are, 4-wheel drive low, and automatically turns off the traction and stability control. Don't think the G80 is locked yet. There we go. I felt it lock in there. So now the G80 is locked. The rest of this should be an easy climb. Again, having the traction and stability control off makes that climb much easier. four-wheel drive low, and I'm locking it into first gear. We're gonna go down this and hopefully survive. Okay, my foot's still on the brake, and I'm gonna try and take a slightly easier line here and off the brake. Got up to 5 miles an hour. Wasn't too crazy. Definitely kind of on the middle to upper end. I'm going 4 right here. But yeah, the engine braking does okay. Does pretty good. I definitely give this one a pass score, but not as good as the Nissan Frontier. Probably much better than the Toyota Tacoma. As expected, this thing clears the breakover angle no problem. Sorry this is such a poor shot underneath, but we do see there is some protection there on the front. Most of the stuff is elevated and up out of the way. Skid plate over the transfer case, but there is the fuel tank, plastic fuel tank, no skid plate underneath it. Other than that, the truck does really well as far as protection, but not having a fuel tank skid plate is definitely a negative. Thank you for watching Engine Adventures off-road review of this 2021 GMC Canyon. Really capable truck, does a lot of off-road stuff, has some minor issues. That front air dam, wish it had a selectable rear locker rather than the G80. You'll see, or you saw, I guess, in the video, how sometimes it would take a second to lock up. When it did lock, it would lock hard. So anyway, I really like it overall. Engine is decent. I think the transmission has good enough gearing that if you're running through sand or mud, you might be okay in four-wheel drive high. It does kind of need that a little bit. You can rev it up a bit more, get more momentum, whereas the 1 to 2 shift in four-wheel drive low takes a little while. So maybe just start out in second gear in four-wheel drive low, but I don't have mud and sand here to test. So anyway, pretty good on the highway ride and all that stuff too. The V6 has enough power for something this size. It's kind of, if you're doing anything else, if you're towing, you know, 5,000 pounds with it, whatever, you're gonna want a little more power, but not bad overall. If you liked what you saw, be sure to hit subscribe, ring the bell so you get notifications, and give me a thumbs up. If you didn't like it and you give me a thumbs down, be sure to comment. Let me know why. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.